We posted a video not too long ago. It was with Pastor Mike Todd, who was discussing dating before marriage. And he had a really interesting perspective that we wanted to take the time out to discuss on our podcast. Because like I said, we only posted it to our social media, but we didn't spend any time on an actual podcast episode to discuss it. So let's play this clip real quick, and then we're going to get into it.
The concept of what we call dating is honestly practicing divorce. It's like getting with people to then figure out if you kind of want to be with them, and then you get out of it. And then we're taught, like, as young people, like, try it as many times as you want to until you find the one. But what you've done is you've formed unknowingly a habit of getting into things and getting out of them.
Oh, wow, I've never heard anyone say that.
So what ends up happening is when you get into a marriage and you're like, they're better than everybody else, and oh my God, I love them, and they got me the right ring, and you go all that other stuff. When it gets tough, you're like, the first reflex I know to do is get out of it.
Yeah.
And that's why divorce is higher right now than it's ever been.
So what do you think, Asha? Is dating preparing you for divorce?
So I thought it was an interesting perspective. I felt like, which we discussed, the verbiage for me from the dating portion to the getting into relationships. Because a lot of people be like, well, aren't you supposed to date before you get married? How are you going to find the one if you don't date, right? And I think it was the verbiage of getting into those relationships, right? Being in relationships with multiple people versus just dating. The traits and things that you pick up from every relationship that you're going through, or running from relationship to relationship, if things are going wrong, you carry into your marriage. Like, you're literally carrying baggage from each relationship as you go on. And hopefully you're able to unpack and move forward. But a lot of times when we do get to that final relationship where we are deciding that we want to get married, we have that baggage from maybe the first relationship we ever entered to. So I think it definitely does, in a sense, it's preparing you for that, because I think a lot of us aren't dating with those intentions, so that we're not being in multiple relationships.
No, I agree. When I first heard this video, I was on the fence with it. I didn't know if it was practicing divorce, but the more I thought about it, what you learn to do in relationships, if this person is not what I like, then let me go ahead and leave. So then you keep bouncing around until you try to find the right partner. So then when you do find somebody that you think is the right partner, the first 2 years is good, maybe the first 3, 4, 5 is good. And then when they start doing things that you don't like, your past has taught you, when your partner is not being the type of person or the type of partner you want them to be, then your response is to leave and find somebody who will be that partner for you. So I think in that sense, it's setting you up for divorce, because you're not learning to work through your issues and overcome that. Because no matter who you meet, nobody's going to be Mr. Perfect. Nobody's going to be Miss Perfect. We talked about before in episodes, there's going to be perpetual problems that you face, which is basically your partner's going to do things, or they're going to have certain mannerisms that you're not going to like, no matter who the person is. That's just a part of growing with somebody that is completely different and had a different background than you. And you have to learn to get used to that, or accept that person for who they are, without trying to change those certain behaviors or qualities about them.
Right.
So you're always going to face issues in a relationship. And if your first response is, let me go ahead and break up with this person and leave, then, like you said, you're going to pick up those habits when you get into a marriage, because that's not something you can just stop. And I remember when I first heard it, I asked you the question, because you've been in more relationships than me prior to us. I don't really know how many. I don't know if I want to ask you. No, I do. I think you was like in what, 4?
4 relationships?
Yeah.
No.
How many? You about to lie. She about to lie.
No. I was in...
Count them. And I'm talking about the childish ones and all that. Like, how many relationships have you been in?
3.
Based off of your definition of relationship, you might have been in like 20 of them, bro.
No. Wow. Is he trying to...
You know women be lying about the number.
No.
So 3?
Yes. Seriously, 3.
All right, so 3 relationships, right? I was only in 1 relationship before. And when we got into our marriage, obviously that means it was 3 people other than me. So you had to walk away from a relationship 3 times. I walked away from a relationship, one. And I've been the type of person where it's like, when I'm going through things, not even just romantic relationships, whatever, I have a habit of doing whatever I can to overcome the challenges that I'm facing in my life. That's just a habit I have. For you, you walked away from 3 relationships. And I know when things weren't going right in our marriage, you would be the one who threw out the D word often, that you were going to leave, that we were going to get a divorce. And I didn't really understand why you were doing that, because I'm like, damn, like if we made a commitment till death do us part, we're having issues, that word should never be brought up. Like, we got to figure this thing out. How do we overcome it? And I had asked you, like, do you think your past experiences in romantic relationships, you walking away from 3 other relationships, impacted your behaviors when we were having challenges in our marriage?